Hey everybody, Backpacker Luke here with my dog Beasley, I guess. Today we're going to be talking about trekking poles and the 3 things you need to look for in a trekking pole. I'm also going to teach you how to kind of properly put on the straps. My favorite type of trekking pole, the pros and cons of each type. We're going to be going over a couple of different things, so we're going to get straight into it, but stick around to the end to hear a little pro tip about how to size your trekking pole as well as how to best put the trekking pole on with the straps there. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to be talking about are the handle compositions. So there are basically 3 different types of handle compositions that you might find on trekking poles. The first one is cork, the second is foam, and the third is rubber. So each of those handle composition types have sort of their own advantages and disadvantages, excuse me. So just really quickly, we're going to go through those 3. One is cork, the second one is rubber, and then the third one is foam. So those are the 3 different types of handles that you can usually have on your trekking pole. For me, in this case, I have foam on my handles, so each of them have some little things about them. The cork is going to shape to your hand quite well, but it's also usually a little bit more expensive because it's pretty comfortable, and also just shapes to your hand well after you've been using it for a while, like cork. The second what I was talking about was the foam, and that's what these ones are here. And I'll put pictures up on the screen for you as well so you can kind of see the other handles that I don't have. But the second one is foam. It shapes to your hand very well, but usually a little bit cheaper composition. So these are actually more like the budget option for the handles at least. And then the third one is rubber, and rubber is like more grippy for your hands, but also in cold weather, you know, you're going to feel it because it's going to be kind of like cold. It's anything else that like rubber, if you've experienced rubber in cold weather, it just kind of has that same feel. So just be aware of that as well. So those are 3 different types of handles that you could have on your trekking poles. The next thing we're going to be talking about are locking mechanisms for your trekking poles. Now there are a couple different types of locking mechanism, and I'm going to tell you what my favorite is for each of these, by the way, at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that. There are 3 different types, pretty much. There is the twist locking mechanism where you can actually just extend the pole out and then you twist it, sort of like the telescopic thing that you've seen with a lot of different devices that you kind of like twist it to tighten it. And you can basically lengthen out your pole however far you need to, and then you telescopic kind of twist lock it into place. And that's how you adjust the length for it. The second option for the locking mechanism for trekking poles or hiking sticks, whatever you want to call these things, is the push button method, where it's literally just like you kind of just put the pole together and you don't really adjust it usually. It's also usually kind of in combination with the Z-fold method of the trekking pole. So it packs down tighter because you can basically it's on like these like little strings, almost like tent poles, where you can just sort of like fold them into each other. And then when you put them together, it's like the little push button just kind of locks in place, but there's no adjustability happening there for the most part. You basically just have the length that you need to have. So just be aware of that one, but that's the push button method for locking, and it also kind of goes in combination with the Z-fold method. And the third method, which is what these guys are, is the lever locking method. The lever locking method, you'll see, I'm going to show you right here. So you pull this lever right here, there, and it comes up, right? And then you get to adjust it. And then I can also adjust this second lever lock right here. So I can kind of pull that out as well. So that way you can adjust the length of your trekking pole to exactly what you need it to be. And that's the lever lock. And the third and final thing that you need to be looking for when looking at trekking poles and the different types is the composition of the material that the poles are made out of. There are 2 main composition types. There is aluminum, and then there is a composite material, excuse me. So for instance, these ones are aluminum. They are the more budget friendly. They're a little bit more durable, and they are also heavier than the composite method. The composite method is basically just the better version of pretty much this trekking pole. But now I'm going to tell you about how to size your trekking pole, how to properly put on the handles for the trekking pole, and then I'm also going to tell you about the different tips that you can put on the trekking pole, and my favorite combination of all of these, that if I could just buy what I wanted to, this is the one that I would get. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show you really quickly here is just actually how to put the straps on for the trekking pole. A lot of people do this incorrectly, and it can result in actually like broken wrists, and also your trekking pole just not being as comfortable as they could be if you did it well. So first thing I'm going to show you just really quickly here, doesn't take long. With your trekking pole strap right here, there's basically 2 different ways you can hold onto the strap or have it kind of on your wrist. You can go in from the top, and then you hold it like this. So then when you let go, it's just kind of sitting there. And then you can like rotate it around and it does that, right? So that's the first method. Second method is to come in from the bottom, and then you hold it like this. And then when you drop it, you just hangs on your arm like this. The correct method for putting a trekking pole strap on your arm is to come in from the bottom and then grip it like this. So when you're hiking like this. When you drop it, it stays on your arm, but it's out of your way. If you do it from the top, you could actually injure yourself. Also, it's very uncomfortable. If you think about it, when you drop your pole for something, it's still in your hand and you can't do anything else. So you have to like rotate it around. And also it's just a little bit dangerous because you could actually kind of snap your wrist if you catch it weird. So not a big deal, right? But yeah, make sure you come in from the bottom so that when you drop it, it just does this. Okay, so there you go. That's how you put a strap on for your trekking pole. Next, I'm going to show you how to size your trekking pole to your body. So what I'm doing here is I have my locking mechanism here. I'm going to unlock both of these. I'm going to start extending them out. And what you're looking for here is when you are sizing your trekking pole, you want your arm, when it is on the ground, to be at a 90-degree angle. So this is actually perfect. I did not mean to do it that perfectly the first try, but this is what you're looking for right here. And then now, I go ahead and lock these guys. And the trekking pole is adjusted to my length perfectly. So there we go. Now, the thing that you might want to do is when you are going downhill, you can extend your pole a little bit so you're actually at a slightly longer angle. So that way you can kind of go in front of you so you can lean on your pole a little bit more when you're going downhill to brace yourself from kind of the impact of going downhill. And when you're going uphill, you guessed it, you just shorten up your pole a little bit so you're actually at a little bit more than a 90 up here. And that'll actually help you so you can kind of do short strokes to actually get up the hill easier. So that's how you adjust your trekking pole to your height. And the final thing I'm going to talk to you about, is the tips that you can use on your trekking pole. Now I have this kind of tip right here, the little carbon tip. There's another tip that you can put on here and I don't have it with me, so I'm gonna have to put it up on the screen for you. But this carbon tip is essentially used for snow, and you use this in combination with your disc here. And the wider disc essentially creates a greater surface area of tension so that when you're hiking in the snow, it doesn't go past this disc right here. The other tip that you could use is basically a rubber foot pad on it, and that is for rocks and terrain and grass and all that kind of stuff like that, because that actually just helps you grip more. There you go. That's the different type of tips for a trekking pole. And the final thing I'm going to talk to you about is my recommendation for each of these and my favorite. So my recommendation, if you've been sticking around to the end here, congratulations. My recommendation for this is, even though it's a slightly heavier and even though it's slightly bigger in size, is I really love the foam grip. Just because of the budget option. I don't really care about the cork, and I definitely don't want the rubber because I don't like the idea of rubber in the cold. I like the locking mechanism here, this little latch lock, because I have had the Z-fold with a button lock, and I've also had the twist lock. And both of them I have found that at times of impact, when I'm impacting, or I was in very slushy snow one time and I'd pull out of the slushy snow, and the button lock in particular would actually just come undone, and then my whole trekking pole would basically just fall apart because it would just turn back into like a Z-fold, and it didn't work very well. So this is the most secure one that I have found, and it's most stable. It does not move around. It doesn't shift. It doesn't like slightly shorten every time you kind of hit it on the ground. It's the most stable, even though it's slightly heavier, and it keeps your pole slightly longer, even if it's completely, folded in here or pushed in. It's slightly longer to pack and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's the most stable. And then finally, I actually do like having the disc on my trekking pole at all times, even if I don't need it, because it's a tiny bit extra weight and it just keeps me ready for any kind of situation. And then I use the carbon fiber tip or the little rubber tip on the end for when I'm hiking on like a bunch of, rocks and grass and that kind of stuff. So that's my recommendation for it. This in particular, in case you're wondering, is the REI Trail Brake. It's an aluminum. This was an older model, so they discontinued it. Now it's called the Trail Made, I think, instead of Trail Brake. But you get the idea. So I hope that's been helpful for you, and I hope you enjoy this content. Leave any comments or questions in the comments down below, and I'm happy to answer them for you. All right, have a good one. Thanks.